Keystone Capers for the Atari 2600. Let's have a look at the box. Let you know what it's all about. Cops and robbers. Okay. Flash Harry Hooligan, that notorious villain, has escaped. Constable Kelly is hot on his trail. His last known whereabouts were near Southwick's department store. So grab your billy club and your joystick and join in the fun. Keystone Capers by Activision. Now, my copy doesn't have a manual. Pins are okay. Let's pop it in. As stated, you play as Constable Kelly, and the goal is to catch Harry Hooligan before the time runs out. Both Harry and Kelly run along horizontal stretches of the level, which scrolls across 5 screens. You can reach the higher and lower planes by taking the elevators or the escalators, though they do take some time. As the game goes on, more objects come in to hamper your progress. It becomes much more difficult to apprehend Mr. Hooligan. Objects such as trolleys, laser beams, and whatever that thing was. So how did this end up in my collection? Well, about 10 years ago, I was working on an assembly line job. It wasn't great, but the people there were. Someone there heard that I took an interest with retro game collecting, and he said he had something for me. So after work, took me back to his place, and he gave me an Atari Junior, Pitfall, and this Keystone. I also remember playing this with my cousin when I was back in single digits. Playing it now today in 2024, I find it an enjoyable pick up and play for about 20-30 minutes, especially to have a second player, and a score matching. That's always fun with any Atari game. So there you have it, Keystone Capers. It was pretty good, actually. There wasn't many platformers on the Atari, and that I know of, but this one was really enjoyable. Will it stay on the shelf? Yeah, it will. See you later. Enduro for the 2600. Yeah. Right. Enduro. Very colourful. Look at that. It actually shows the levels that you get during the races. It goes through the night, you know, dusk, dawn, all of that. I like that. Very cool. Bit of an average gameplay excerpt there, but let's see. You're entered in the most grueling race ever conceived, across the USA, from the deserts of Baja through the ice of Montana, to the hills of Tennessee, and up to the fog of New England. The course is set, but are you? Awesome. Now, in my other video, I said there was no manual. I might be wrong, but I don't think the Atari, at least the Activision ones, came with manuals. So, I know there's some, like the insert slip is a manual, so I'm not sure. Cart, very cool. I like the green colour. Let's pop it in. Okay, Enduro. Here we go. Yeah, another one by Activision. We're 2 for 2 at this point. This is a really good game. Spoiler alert. Okay. So the goal of this one is to basically just keep driving until you crash too many times or your fuel runs out, from what I understand. Personally, what I like about this, and I think it's a draw for many people, is the switch of the daytime. So, and not only that, but the locations too. As you might recall, I was saying that there was snowy Alps and I think high mountains or something. You'll see that coming up. But one of my favourite scenes, I guess, is when it becomes nighttime. I think that's really quite cool, especially for the time. You know, graphically, that's fairly impressive for the age that it came out in. So yeah, this will be the snowy Alps here. So I'm not going at full gear because while it controls well, as well as a joystick Atari controller can control, it is pretty easy to smash into your opponents if you get too much speed going. So I tend to take it a bit easier and weave in and out. But coming up though, I will get a bit greedy, get a bit cheeky once it becomes nighttime, to my detriment, of course. Okay, so this one ended up in my collection. Actually, if you watched last episode, I said that I got a bunch of games from a friend from a job I used to work a while ago. I forgot to mention, this was one of them, Enduro. This was part of that pack. So that's how I came across it. I don't have too many memories of this game. I just, either in like a magazine or seeing someone else play it, I just remember this right here, basically. This nighttime showing, which I think still looks really cool. As simple as it is, there I'm weaving in and out like a madman and getting punished for it. As simple as it is, it still looks quite cool, quite interesting, in a real vintage Atari sort of way. So I like that. And as you keep going through, you'll see that it'll change again to, I guess it would be dawn next, I think, yeah. So, yeah, no strong memories of playing it. I never had it as a kid, but it's one of those ones that you feel nostalgic for, but you never had it, so you can't, you know what I mean. Yeah, I did okay actually on this. I'd say it's probably about going by the rounds, what, 5 minute pick up and play. A lot more fun with the second player. I don't think, yeah, you'll probably have to score match as the usual, which again is probably the best way to play this Atari game. Unless it's something like Pitfall where you actually do have an end point, then, you know, try to get to the end. But other than that, in these old school score-based styles, matching your friend's score is the best way to go, I reckon. Yeah, graphically it looks good. It's simple but effective. I like it. Yeah. And just a side note, very few, if any, I don't think any Atari games have music that I've played. So yeah, this is not the official music. I've just whipped something together. There we go. I smashed into my opponent one too many times. So yeah, that was Enduro. Honestly, it's a lot of fun. And again, yeah, there's just something about those graphics, like simple but effective. Yeah, there's no question. This one is going back on the shelf. See you later.
Everybody was kung fu fighting
on the 2600. Kung Fu Master on the Atari 2600. Yeah, quite an animated cover. One guy kicking another guy. Love to see it. A black cover, which is a bit interesting. It's the first one of these I've seen in my collection so far, so something different, it's always good. Have a look. You are the master of the martial arts, quietly confident that your skills will allow you to overcome any challenge, even the greatest challenge of all, the Wizard's Temple. Remote and heavily guarded temple is a fortress never before defeated. Oh boy. You must avoid demons, dragons, snakes and killer bees while doing battle with the wizard's armed henchmen on each of the 5 floors. Hang on. 5 floors. Beware of lapses of concentration. You must defeat all these deadly guardians and more to advance to the next floor. Something seems familiar. Failure is out of the question. The wizard holds the princess captive, of course, and only you stand between her and an uncertain fate. The one thing you can be certain of is non-stop martial arts action with Kung Fu Master. Now that looks very familiar. Alright, so first things first, that tune sounds very familiar, and more on that later. Right, so Kung Fu Master. Controls are a bit sticky. It's a bit hard to hit your opponents. It's one of those ones where you sort of get into a rhythm, and it's a lot easier. These guys are so difficult. Full disclosure, I haven't got off the first level. Very difficult. But yeah, you kind of have to kick them just before they walk into your hitbox, basically. Essentially, this is a port of Kung Fu on the NES. If you weren't aware, it's okay. It's brutally difficult though. I think it was from a garage sale. Yeah, me and my mate. I went to a lot of garage sales and found a lot of games that way actually. Yeah, even some consoles sometimes. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this was one of those garage sale finds. So that's good. So look, graphically it's not too bad. It's it gets its point across. Actually, the sprites are pretty good for Atari. I'll give it that. And it did have music at the start, so that's impressive. It's just very damn difficult. Yeah, memories of this? All I think of is Kung Fu, which is also very difficult. I would say definitely a better game though, handles better. And I kind of grew up with that. So for those who don't know, I didn't grow up with an Atari. I grew up with an NES, so this doesn't seem to have a live system, which is pretty good. So once you die, you just keep going. I appreciate that. Like I said, it's just a port of Kung Fu, so you're better off playing Kung Fu, honestly. So there you have it. Kung Fu on the NES. Yeah, alright. Kung Fu Master on the 2600. Look, it's an inferior port, that's the issue. And the original Kung Fu, it's a good game, it's very difficult though. So it's not one of my personal favourites. I'm gonna level with you. I'm trying to collect all the Activision boxed games for Atari. I'm probably about a quarter of the way there, so if that wasn't the case, this would probably be the first one to end up on the Wall of Shame. So it gets off by a technicality. I mean, you do have to remember that there are no bad games, but Kung Fu Master for the 2600 definitely puts that theory to test. See you later. Landing gears down, gentlemen. We have River Raid for the Atari 2600, released in 1982 by Activision. So I got this one from a Cash Converters, which is like a pawn shop in Australia. I don't remember what I paid for it, but yeah, that's where it came from. So let's pop it in. This ain't your granddaddy's video games. Actually, wait a minute. It probably is. Okay, River Raid. Here we go. So, your mission: destroy enemy bridges and fuel dumps, but beware enemy attackers. Keep cool, keep low, and keep firing. River Raid by Activision. The River of No Return holds many challenges and dangers. Only the brave and skilled will survive. This actually was one of the best-selling games in 1983. This was way up there, I think, in the top 5, maybe even top 3. River Raid had one sequel and one cancelled Super Nintendo game. Would have been interesting to see how that would have turned out. It was banned in West Germany in 1985 due to its military-themed violence. Yeah, I mean, looking at the graphics now, that's funny to think about. But yeah, well, speaking of graphics, they're quite good. Everything looks as it should. Colors are bright and poppy. Yeah, the flashes aren't too egregious. Yeah, graphics are good. So, what do you do in River Raid? So, what you do is you need to shoot down obstacles, well, enemies, and avoid obstacles. You need to procure fuel. So, if you'll notice, there's a little fuel gauge at the bottom, and it goes down gradually, not too fast, but you need to make sure that you do stay topped up, because if that fuel gets down to 0, or the E in this case, it's B, game over. So you don't want that. But it's not too tricky to deal with that. That's pretty easy. There's no music. The sounds are great. Going over the fuel, as it's very satisfying. Ding, 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 ding. That I might get here. Yep, there we go. That's nice. The oh, and the explosions. Explosions are always fun. And on that bridge there, blasting bridges actually acts as checkpoints, which I thought was very interesting for an early Atari game. Having checkpoints. That's yeah, that's really good. So here again, so for example, if I died now, I would restart at that bridge that I just blew. So yeah. As for controls, it does control quite well. But yes, you can zip in and out pretty well. The joystick handles good. Yeah, there is a part where I do some zipping and don't smash into walls, but yeah, you'll find that the controls feel good in this one. There is no end to River Raid. It's a score-based game, so you can score a match with a friend or even yourself. Regarding a loose cart, this will run you about $20, is the box and the cart. That'll go about $60, so, and that's probably because it's a sought after game. It's a great game. So, that was River Raid. That is a good game. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. It's a great pick-up and play. I think it holds up pretty well in this day and age. Yeah, there's a reason it's expensive, because it's good. I'm happy to own it, for sure. So obviously with that, this one will be flying back on the shelf. And as you know, there are no bad games. Especially when it comes to this. Great game. See you later.
Take your best shot with my golf on the Atari 2600. This was released in 1990 by AEST, which is a pirate company in Australia. Let's pop it in. Welcome to My Golf, the latest state-of-the-art golf simulation for your Atari 24... No, I'm not doing that again. It's amazingly real, with rivers, sand traps, ponds, trees, roofs, out of bounds. Play alone, or play with a friend, joining in a relaxing game of My Golf. But don't be fooled, you'll need skill, strategy, and great concentration. Alright, that's enough of that. Now, I finally got this to work. Now, this was developed by AEST, which is an unlicensed company. They did a lot of NES stuff as well, Atari NES, maybe other things, but as far as I know, that's where it ends. They're a Europe company. I live in Australia, and I know I had a lot of AEST stuff growing up, without realizing that it was unlicensed and third party. Still love those games. But yeah, there's not too much information on this particular one. Anyway, now the gameplay. So, this is golf. Yeah, so you grab a rod, you hit a ball, try to get it in the hole. Simple as that. But it is surprisingly deep for an Atari golf game. As it says on the back, there's wind in 4 directions. You have 18 holes, which is good. It shows the current stroke. You can choose your club. There's a bit to it. It shows the yards to the green. Yeah, yards to the hole. So, yep. Graphics, they're okay. It's you know, a typical Atari fare. It's not an Activision game, so don't expect like eye-popping graphics here. But they're nice enough. As for music and sound, well, there is a sound when you hit the green. There's a sound when you get the ball in the hole. I think there's a sound when you hit a bunker and land in the water. There's no music though. As for the controls, they can be a bit finicky, but once again it is fairly impressive, the power bar that they've got here. It works well. It's just, yeah, just needs a little bit more tweaking. But about a month ago, me and my mate went through a couple of these games. This was one of them, and he's actually a golfer in real life. And he took to it pretty quickly and just, yep, started sinking holes. He was on the 14th hole and I was still trying to get out of the sand trap on my 3rd. There's 18 holes, so you keep playing until you get through the 18 holes or until it crashes on you, which it did on me multiple times. Pricing is a bit interesting, once again, because it's an unlicensed cart. it might demand a little more. So $20 loose for the cart, and if you want the box, it goes for about $40 on average. As for where I got it, it's an interesting story. So me and my then girlfriend and now wife went to like a trash and treasure sort of sale, and there was the boxes of all sorts of things. But the two that caught our eye was one was full of games and another full of games. Some lady got to the first box before us, and yeah, that's fine, but it irked me a bit, and I'll tell you why in a sec. And yeah, as she went for that one, I went for the other one, and luckily it wasn't a complete bust. I ended up getting My Golf. I got Commando, Enduro, and something else. Yeah, the issue with that woman was I knew she wasn't going to play those games. I was hoping maybe she would give them to her daughter or kids or something, but no. A few days after that, I was on Facebook Marketplace. I saw those very games thrown up for 3 times what they're worth, and yeah, just a reseller. Sad business, but that's okay. I got a couple, so I was happy. So that was My Golf when it worked. It's not a terrible game per se, but there's a lot better out there. It's not one I'd probably come back to. Do love that cover though. But yeah, I reckon this one's hitting the bunker and ending up on the wall of shame. In retrospect, there are no bad games, but this one comes close. See you later.
Yeah, dude. Skateboard on the Atari 2600. Came out in 1987 by Activision. Let's pop it in. Radical, dude. Skateboarding. Okay. Radical moves, dude. The crowd freaks out as you blast by on your blazing board, darting and slicing through the tubes and over that last killer ramp to win the worldwide championship trophy. Ring! Bummer, your alarm clock. You've been dreaming again. And now there's only like 5 minutes to get to school. One more time, and it's suspension for you. So jump on that board, get psyched for a totally intense cruise. So, we actually had a story for the box. Now, Kung Fu had a story, but that wasn't cool. So this was one of the first skateboarding games, not the first, but an early example in the console space. And it also got itself a sequel called Super Skateboarding, but that was on the Atari 7800, which I never owned. That brings us to gameplay. So, as you can see on screen, there are ramps, like that one. There are pipes. And yeah, basically you need to go over the ramps, over the pipes. 30 in all. And that is your objective. Really, yeah. So, pretty simple, but pretty deep as well.
especially for an Atari game. Quite impressive, to be honest. Now the graphics, yeah, they're not too bad. He looks like a skateboarder. That looks like a skateboard. Yeah, can't complain. Activision always does good graphics. So the music, it actually has some. You know, it's not the best, but it's somewhat catchy. But yeah, it's got some music. Okay, now the controls. This, I think, is where this game excels. As you can see, you can spin on a dime, you can turn quickly. It just feels great to control this character. Skateboarding around, zipping around, it just feels really good. It can be sometimes tricky to line up on the right plane so you can, get over that ramp or get through that pipe. But it does feel good. It's one of the better feeling Atari games that I've played in this series so far, by far. To go through the pipes, you have to hold A down. Well, not A, but the Atari button, the joystick button down. It will take you 5 minutes to beat, and that's due to it being a timed game. Basically, you have 5 minutes to do 30 obstacles. Yeah. As for price, a loose cart will run you $8, and a complete copy with a box is around 20. So, where'd I get this one? Okay, so I was working with a mate at the job I'm currently at, and he was sort of into collecting, not necessarily games, but vintage things, retro things. He was a bit of a collector himself. One day on his travels, he came across this skateboard. He knew that I was into retro games, and he offered it to me. And I said, yeah, absolutely. What do you want for it? He said nothing. So he was a great dude. So you can get off your board like that, which helps to realign yourself, on the planes. It makes it a lot easier to get into what objectives that you're trying to get into. And you do that by going on the grass. That will slow you down, and then you will get off your board. So that is skateboarding. So that was skateboarding. That was a lot of fun. Obviously, better skateboarding games have come out since, but with its obstacle-based gameplay and 5-minute pick up and play, no, it's actually a lot of fun. Maybe if the timer was a little less strict, but other than that, that's a really good game. I think it can skate alongside Tony Hawk any day. So with that, it will be kick-flipping back onto the shelf, and in retrospect, there are no bad skateboarding games. Well, I can think of maybe one or two, but we haven't come across them yet. See you later.
Look out below! It's Pitfall on the Atari 2600. This was released in 1982 by Activision. So I got this one from that same Trash and Treasure from the golf episode. Let's pop it in.
Okay, Pitfall. Boy, there's a lot to say about this one. I'm Pitfall Harry, and together, we'll search the jungle for hidden treasures, but stay close, because we'll be facing crocodiles, tar pits, underground passages, and countless other dangers in Pitfall, by Activision. Okay? So Pitfall was incredibly influential, especially in the platforming scene in early video games. It's one of the all-time best-selling Atari games, and it was the best-selling game of 1982. So the goal is to score as many points as you can within the 20-minute time limit. You need to avoid hazards, swing for your life. yeah, so originally you're only going to have one life to do all of that, and a 20-minute time limit. But David Crane's colleagues basically pressured him to make it to 3. So there are things to pick up and things to avoid, like that fire there. There are a lot of these vines here that you need to grab and swing over, which has one of the only few sound cues, which I won't try to replicate here, or maybe I will. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so you've got to avoid the logs. Yeah, so it's good. There's a good variety of gameplay in this game. Avoiding, jumping. I guess that brings us to controls, and yeah, they are quite good. They feel pretty tight, and you can get in a rhythm, like with these logs, for example. To jump, yep, you can jump over 2 of them at once. You can move while you're in midair, which is very impressive for an Atari game. You're not just locked into one position, like just going straight up. Yeah, no, the controls are good. Yeah. As I said, no music and not much sounds. Like a few sounds. When it comes to memories, I never had the game, but I'm sure I would have played it at some point, whether it was a port or maybe the game itself. I've said previously that I didn't own an Atari growing up. I owned an NES, but a lot of my friends had Atari. My cousin had an Atari, so I reckon this would have been part of that at some point. And I have been playing all my games on my Atari 2600 Plus, which is a great little piece of kit that I got for my birthday. I highly recommend it. As for pricing, it sort of stays true to a lot of the Activision games. A loose cart will be about 30, 35, and a complete copy will run you about 60. Yeah, there is a collector's market for these games. So there's a piece of gold. Yeah, that'll get your points way up. You can go left or right, which is interesting. You can also go down. Yeah, which is also... You have a lot of freedom of choice in this game. That was Pitfall. What can you say about a classic like that? Yeah, still fun to play now. Revolutionary for its time. Yeah, there's no question. This is swinging back onto the shelf. Now, in retrospect, there are no bad games. This one would really make me believe that. See you later.
Keep your head down! It's Commando to the Atari 2600. Fire in the hole!
Okay, here we go with Commando. Released in 1988 by Activision. Back of the box. Take no prisoners. As a one-man army, you face the impossible. Locate and destroy the enemy stronghold. An entire battalion stands in your way. Fire off machine gun bursts at point-blank range, toss grenades as you sprint past hostile trenches, and when you reach the target,
you'll understand why no one volunteered. Right, so Commando. Now, this is one of many ports. This had a port on pretty much everything: arcade, NES, many home computers. Yeah, too much to list. In a way, it's actually almost a grandfather to the classic cult game Bionic Commando. The name Super Joe is actually in that as well. Not the same character, but there's some loose connections. Alright, so gameplay. You are a one-man army, you have unlimited gun ammo, but you do have limited grenades. And with the grenades, they can only be thrown towards the screen, upwards. Which can be a bit tricky, but yeah, there you go. This game doesn't end, it's you keep going till you die, like many Atari games, pretty much. For the graphics, there's a lot of green. They're okay. That's not too bad. It's not the best Activision one yet. No way. But it's not too bad. Music and sound is somewhat impressive. It has a musical track. It's very repetitive, but it's there. And the sound is bleeps and bloops. The sound's fine. The controls. So the controls on this one, they're a bit clunky. The aforementioned grenades, when you are trying to throw them, you have to hold down the button and sort of be in the rough vicinity. Yeah, you see me doing that there. Where the enemy is. It can be pretty tricky to get that. The shooting can be diagonal, as you see, and that I'm glad it's in the game. It can be difficult to do on the joystick though. Yeah, just trying to get the right angle. There's some guys you'll see I just have a very difficult time trying to hit at all. Yeah, so a little bit clunky. Not terrible, just a little bit clunky. So as for pricing, yeah, it's about 20-ish for a loose card. And you're probably looking at about 40 if you want it complete with the box. Again, it's the Activision tax. Collectors like me make it an issue. So yeah, you can see here, it can be quite difficult to just get the angle right. Oh, there we go, that wasn't too bad. But with the, with the grenades, that can be a real issue. So yeah, this isn't too bad. You get 3 lives. Yeah, not my favourite Activision one. Not at all.
So there you go, Commando. Yeah, look, not that bad of a game, really. Has some difficult parts. As I said, the controls are a little bit clunky, but yeah, overall enjoyable. Yep, I'm not sure if I'd say it holds up today, but yeah, I will say this: it will be blasting its way back onto the shelf. Now, in retrospect, there are no bad games, but there are bad choices. Make peace, not war. See you later.
Wait, mate, chuck another shrimp on the barbie. Actually, in Australia we call them prawns, and we prefer to have them cold rather than barbecued. But here's something you might like. Kangaroo for the Atari 2600, released in 1988 by Sun Electronics. Let's pop it in.
shouldn't need to put an accent on, I am Australian. So, this tough but loving mother kangaroo will hop right into your heart. She'll have you ducking and leaping and punching for points. Her precious baby has been kidnapped by a band of menacing monkeys, and she is in desperate need of your help. Right. So, this was one of the first arcade-style games that was very similar to Donkey Kong, but it wasn't actually a clone. So, that's noteworthy. You have 4 levels, and you punch things, and you avoid things. Yeah, I'm gonna level with you. I could not get past this first screen. This is brutally difficult. At least for me it was. I just kept getting hit by the same thing. So yeah, as you can see, you punch things with your boxing gloves there. You collect fruit that I think it can disappear if you're not close to it. Maybe it's just actually, you know what? I think it's just sprite flickering. I think it's just a glitch. Now, the graphics, I find them pretty average. They're very dull colored, yellow, brown, like nothing to write home about there. As for the music, it has some cues. I've only heard the first one, but it does have some music cues. They're very short, but the sound can be very grating. It's just high-pitched noises, just constantly. Every step you take is a high-pitched noise, as you'll hear. So, yeah, annoying. The controls are pretty clunky, honestly. Going left and right's fine, but going up can be a bit of trouble. Jumping, there's a little bit of lag, which is why I probably keep getting killed constantly. Yeah, it just doesn't feel that great to play. Representative of that, a loose cart runs probably about $8, and if you want to complete, you're looking at about 20. Mate. That was Kangaroo. Now, as an Australian, I feel like I should like it, but between the extreme difficulty, pretty average graphics, and very annoying sounds and music, yeah, I can't say I enjoyed it that much. Yeah, I reckon this one's bound to be bouncing straight into the wall of shame, fortunately. But, you know what? In retrospect, there are no bad video games. But, if that's the case, what would you call this? See you later.
Get down and get to the chopper on Chopper Command on the Atari 2600, released in 1982 by Activision. Do it! Do it now!
I'm so sorry. Let's pop it in.
Okay, yet another Activision one. Chopper Command. Here we go. You're piloting a helicopter gunship flying cover for a truck convoy of medical supplies, when suddenly your long-range scanner shows attacking enemy aircraft. Get ready. You're about to do battle in Chopper Command by Activision. Cool. Now, this one is known to be very similar to another Atari game known as Defender. Now, I don't have that one, but I'll take their word for it. Now with the gameplay, so as it said, you're a military chopper in the desert. You need to protect your convoy of trucks below from being attacked by the jets and the other opposing choppers and trying to destroy them, getting your medical supplies and weaponry taken out before they get to their destination. You don't want that. You may also notice the little mini-map there, which is a great little addition. You can, I mean, everything is dots, but you can see, obviously, you know, which dots are the trucks that are on the ground and which dots are your enemies coming up, so that is useful. The game ends if you reach 999,999 points. Good luck. Or you lose all 3 lives, which is certainly the more realistic outcome. Yeah, now graphics, in my opinion, they have that similar feel to Enduro. Like, you look at the top, how they've got that really nice kind of sunset, dusky sort of look. And it's actually very pleasant. I do like the vibe there. Yeah, the choppers and that, they look fine. Like, the planes, yeah. They're good enough, but I do like that, like, I suppose you could call it a skybox, but yep, looks pretty good. As for the music, there is none, but the sounds, a lot of explosions, and you'll hear the same kind of sound cues in other Activision games. Lots of noise because of the constant firing and dropping of bombs and all of that, so yeah, not bad, not bad. Like you see here, if you leave it idle for a little bit, it actually has a little demo playing in black and white for some reason, but I found that kind of interesting. I'm sure they all did that, but I didn't usually leave it idle. So the controls, you know, they're good. They do feel a little bit erratic though, which is good and bad. So you can get speed up, and that's what you want. But you get too fast and you just fly into obstacles. You fly into projectiles. Obviously, that's not good. So it's a balance of being quick but being careful. So it's a good mix of it, to be honest. Right, there we go, out of demo mode. As for pricing, a loose cart goes for about 15 these days, and you're looking at probably around 30 for complete, which isn't too bad considering it's an Activision game. So yeah, for whatever reason, this one's not as fondly remembered of as the other, you know, Activision titans, be it Pitfall, River Raid. Yeah, no, personally, yeah, I'm quite a fan of the the skybox. It is really something kind of special. But as you see here, I just go hog wild here and firing and full speed, and it doesn't quite work.
So, that was Chopper Command. Yeah. Being an Activision game, I definitely expected more. Now, it could just be that I'm not that good at it, which is a very big possibility. But, yeah, no. I like the idea. The concept's great. But the execution, in my opinion, just does not work. Yeah. No, unfortunately, this one will be back. Going not to the shelf though, but the wall of shame. So yeah, well, in retrospect, there are no bad games, and this is an Activision one. So yeah, now I'm rethinking that sentiment entirely. See you later. Landing gears down, gentlemen. We have Air-Sea Battle. Air-Sea Battle. Isn't that just a river raid? One sec. Landing gears up. We have Air-Sea Battle. Now this was released in 1977 by Atari. Certainly not any relation to River Raid, I think. let's pop it in.
Okay, AEST battle. Right, now this one was praised for its varied gameplay and just fantastic two-player experiences. It was bundled with a few 2600 games back in the day, so obviously they were very confident in it. Now this one actually has 27 games in it, if you can believe it. There's 6 full games, but within that is variants. So, yeah. The variants go as follow. So you have anti-aircraft, which is where you shoot down aircraft with your grounded cannons, and they can aim 30, 60, and 90 degrees. You have shooting gallery, which is pretty similar to anti-aircraft, but you're able to move the gun around, like left and right. And instead of shooting aircraft, you shoot down clowns, ducks, and rabbits. Torpedo. You control a submarine that shoots at 90-degree angles, and the targets are now ships instead of planes. Polaris. Same as Torpedo, but your boat moves automatically across the screen, left to right. Bomber. Your plane's on top of the screen this time, and you're the one dropping bombs down. And Polaris versus Bomber. So one player controls the ship, and the second player controls the bombs. So yeah, a lot of bang for your buck with this one. So the graphics, they're very chunky pixels, kind of average, if I'm honest, but serviceable. They're good enough. Music is non-existent, and the sound is very repetitive, but it's okay. The gameplay makes up for it. The controls, they're good, but you kind of need to get a feel for them. You want to play it for a little bit to be able to get a feel for each of the variants. Like you might just master, the submarine, and then you switch back to anti-aircraft, and then it'll feel clunky. So yeah, this one takes a while to really get a good handle on, I feel. Now pricing, it's not too bad, to be honest. It's about $10 for a loose cart, and you're looking around probably 25 complete. This one I didn't play with the second player. Maybe in the future I might do a 2-player streaming thing. We'll see. But I can imagine it will be a lot of fun with the second player, this one.
Well, there you go. AEST battle. Now, it's no River Raid, but it doesn't need to be. It's very enjoyable on its own merit. It will be a really good 2-player game, I think. Controls are a little bit clunky during the aiming, but once you find a rhythm, no, it's great. It's a good game. And much like its distant cousin River Raid, this one will be flying its way back onto the shelf. Now, in retrospect, there are no bad games. And I guess River Raid and this one right here would tend to prove that theory. See you later.
Hello, I'd like to put 2600 on the Swaggly Man, please. Wish me luck.
They're off.
Come on, 22. Let's go.
Papa needs another Atari game. Yes, yes, get up there. Yes, go, go. What? No! Should have stayed home and played Stampede. Released in 1981 by Activision on the Atari 2600. Giddy up.
Side heights, River Flash and Miss Tallahassee are in the back of the field as Lady Mutada leads the way to the back.
Alright, here we go with Stampede. Now, this is an interesting one. This is one of the only cattle roundup based video games around that time. Although, a year later, Intellivision would release their own version. So, back of the box. Here's video game action as wild as the Wild West. Ride fast and rope as many stampeding calves as you can. They're all worth points, but keep your eyeballs peeled. You won't always be travelling on happy trails. Since these critters don't gallop at the same speed, it takes a real cowpuncher to get them herded. And it takes a lot of fancy roping to go with your riding. Now the gameplay, you need to round up the cattle without letting any pass you by. Although you get 3 misses. So for instance, 3 cattle go past the screen, then it's game over. Good thing is though, every 1,000 points, you get another life, I suppose. So you can allow, 1 more cattle to get past. So for instance, if you lost no cattle and just got 5,000 points, then you would have 5 free chances, basically. So yeah, this one's pretty generous as long as you get good, early on. It's, not bad. Now, the black cattle, known as the Black Angus, literally in the game, these ones don't move, so you must prioritize them because, as you can see on screen, they don't move, and you're constantly moving, the others are constantly moving. You want to get those ones straight away, when possible. Now for graphics, not that bad really. I think the horse looks good, and the cattle doesn't look too bad. You got different colours. As I said, there's a Black Angus as well. I think the darker the colour, the faster they are. It looks like it, but yeah. And you see the occasional skull because, why not? Nah, the graphics really aren't too bad. Pretty good. Now as for the music, there is none, but I'm a fan of the lasso noise as it extends out to, get your cattle. That's, you'd think it would get old, but nah, not to me anyway, I like it. Right, so the controls on this one. Now, this is a type of game that the controls have to be good. You can't mess the controls up on something like this because it would just be pretty much unplayable. But luckily, they're pretty tight. They're fairly accurate. So you, once you've shot the lasso out, you have to wait until it hits something or nothing before you can shoot it out again. The lane sort of, as you see, each sort of cattle is in a lane. That kind of gameplay is, it's fairly tight. Yeah, the controls are good. As I said, they needed to be for one like this. So, I got this one at a cash converters, as I've alluded to in a previous video. It's like a pawn shop in Australia. Often has video games and electronics, second-hand things. Pre-loved things. Now, for a cart, this is about 15, and if you want the complete, you're looking at about 35, roughly. And by the way, these price metrics, they're not 100%, but they're roughly what you'd be looking at if you were in the market. So, there you go, partner. That was Stampede. There you go, Stampede.
Now, it's a pretty simple game, but sometimes simple's good. And in this case, simple's actually great. Yeah, I like this one a lot. So with that, shall we galloping back onto the shelf? And in retrospect, there are no bad cow wrenching games. In fact, I can't think of any. And this is good. So that sentiment rings true. See you later. Wow, so that was Jade Cocoon, story of the Tamil Mayu. Still one of the best. In retrospect, there are no bad games. In retrospect, there are no bad games.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for this emergency broadcast.
Are we live? Okay. Hello, good evening. This is Jackie Swagman reporting to you live for RetroSpective News Network. We are here at the site of our first encounter with the invaders from space. Who are they? Where do they come from? What do they want? I'm going to throw you to Benji in the studio for these answers and more.
Thank you, Jackie. Now, Space Invaders was released in 1978 by Taito. It is by far one of the most recognizable and influential games of all time. Upon its release, it had grossed $3.8 billion, easily making it the best-selling entertainment product of its era. The inspiration for the octopus-looking aliens came from the novel War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. The game was originally going to be called Space Monsters, before they changed it to Space Invaders. These days, there are hundreds of clones out there, but none will ever compare to the one, the only, Space Invaders. Let's take a look. Well, here we go. The one and only Space Invaders. So, as you can see, the goal is to shoot down the ever-encroaching or space-invading aliens before they reach the bottom of the screen. You can hide behind the shields that are at the bottom, the three shields, but they can break that away from their fire, and you can actually accidentally break it away with your fire. So be wary of that. Occasionally you will see a mothership scurrying across the top of the screen. If you're good enough and you can hit that, you will get bonus points. So you have 3 lives, but the game will end if the aliens get to the bottom of the screen and get to where your ship is. So the graphics on this one, not the best of all the versions, of course, but quite colourful. If the purple, green, you know, it definitely invokes that early Atari feel. That not even retro at this point, I guess would be vintage, or it's like 50 years old at the moment. So yeah, but it certainly has an iconic look. Yeah, I like it. I like the graphics. So there's no music, and the sound, I mean, what can you say? It's iconic, especially if you grew up with it. It's one of those things you'll have in your head till the day you die, or get abducted by aliens. Now, as for the controls, they feel really good. Actually, it feels like it got a good sort of momentum going. I did anyway when I was playing, firing off. So when you shoot, you
you have to wait for your previous bullet to either exit the screen or hit a invader, or if you're really unlucky, hit your shield before you can fire off another one. So it gives it, so you can't just spam attacks and, you know, do it that way. Right, so for pricing on this one, it really depends. I've seen it go for as low as $10 for a cart, and about 30 for a complete. Yeah, it's probably around that ballpark, something like that. Yeah, no, this one, I mean, what can you say? It's Space Invaders. And I was very happy to get some footage of me actually completing a level. Y'all could take away my gamer card if I didn't get that done.
So there you have it, everybody. The final game in my 2600 collection, for now, Space Invaders. Now, it just goes without saying, this game, like Tetris and games like that, it's just endlessly playable. Timeless. Which makes sense because it's about 50 plus years old at this point. So, I mean, do I really have to say it? This is absolutely going to be taking up space on the shelf. Now, if you've followed my previous 13 videos, then you will know there are no bad games. Going through the 2600 collection, there's some games I wouldn't want to play again, but yeah, I wouldn't say they're bad. Kung Fu and Kangaroo. No, they're not bad. They're misunderstood. So yeah, with the close of the 2600, I'll be moving on to the Sega Master System. Next week, I'll be doing a top 3, bottom 3 for Atari, and maybe a blooper compilation too. We'll see about that. But yeah, there you go. So far, we've got one chunk of my collection down. I hope everyone's been enjoying the videos. Thank you for watching, subscribing, liking, and onward to the Sega Master System. See you later. G'day, Benji here. Now, after finally completing my Atari 2600 collection for this channel, for now, I've decided to do a quick yet comprehensive top 5 list of the games I've gone through for it. So without further ado, these are the top 5 Atari games in my collection. Number 5. Enduro. Now, Enduro's vibe is unlike any other Atari game in its library for me. It's an early example of a racer that controls great, and its standout feature by far is its revolutionary for the time day and night cycle. Graphically and mechanically, it's a well-made game worth your time. Number 4. Yeah, dude. Skateboarding. Now this one I hadn't played until adulthood, so I don't have any nostalgia for it, but I can appreciate it for what it is. And what it is a great feeling, zippy, objective-based skateboarding sports game on the Atari that looks good and it plays even better. Number 3. Space Invaders. Now, Space Invaders, while not my favourite title, is absolutely up there as one of the ones I've replayed the most. And for good reason. It's possibly the most addictive OG retro game, along with Tetris. And and it's close to a perfect game that still holds up even wonderfully today. Number 2. Landing gears up, gentlemen. River Raid. River Raid has an addictive, rewarding gameplay loop, and is a very solid example of an early shooter game done right. River Raid tops many people's lists, and for good reason. It stands out as one of the timeless pillars of the Atari 2600, and is only my number 2 by a pixel. Number 1. Keystone Capers. Keystone Capers is an incredibly fun and creative game, kind of in its own genre really. It's a game involving chasing and trying to catch a criminal while jumping and dodging obstacles. You're taking elevators up and escalators down. Endlessly fun, and my personal favourite Atari game that I own, by a pixel. So there you have it. That was my top 5 Atari 2600 games that I own in my collection. What was your favourite in my list? Let me know in the comments below. Now, as for my bottom 5, have you forgotten already? There are no bad games. Maybe with the Master System. Stay tuned.